This is Taking Stock on ENCA. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Dean Kowalski is the Chief Executive of Real Foods. Real Foods, the owners of Kauai. Does Real Foods still exist? Because I think you had one or two outlets when you bought Kauai. Have you grown them in parallel, or has the focus all gone into this?
So Real Foods is the holding company. Below that we have Kauai. We also have a brand called NU Health Cafe.
I've seen that.
NU is now 17 stores, so that has grown nicely. We also have a bakery business under Real Foods called Squirn, which has some cafes, but also does premium, authentic quality breads. It supplies into other retailers, into forecourts. We have a significant honey business, honey manufacturing, producing, farming. It also goes into retail. So Real Foods exists as a holding company, and below that are the various operating entities.
I mean, it's becoming increasingly diverse and increasingly complicated to manage, surely.
It's not diverse, incredibly focused in terms of where we want to play in the food space. We focus on quality, premium, authenticity, not necessarily on the price points, but in terms of where do the ingredients come from, traceability, sustainability, is it good for the environment, all of those things. We think there's a really good story about focusing on foods that talk to the millennial, that talk to a certain type of consumer. So everything that we touch, so we're not just a broad-based food group, we focus on authenticity, as I said, quality, etc. And those are the consumers we go after, and therefore those are the businesses we look at.
If I went behind the counter there and I looked at where your kale, baby spinach, your rocket butter lettuce, your Coles house greens and your fruit and veg came from, if I found the invoices, would they be small, organic, barefooted, bearded suppliers? I mean, who's your supply chain?
So, I mean, today organic is very difficult in terms of being able to do it for 160 stores, and generally will be unreliable and will make it way too expensive. We do go as far back in the supply chain as possible. When we bought the business, we were buying fresh products off the market. We no longer do that. And in all our major categories, we buy direct from the farmer, but generally on a national deal, whether it's avocados, kales, those type of things.
How do you secure those deals in a market where Woolies has been doing this now for a decade and a half, 2 decades, in terms of their good business journey? They've built and helped farmers establish, and they've got their guaranteed suppliers. How have you managed to get into that?
So Woolies are pioneers in that, in terms of they form these firm relationships with partnerships with suppliers, and those become their long-term partners that they work together. We've tried to do the same thing with our farmers, build a relationship, start with them small, grow them, build them, and we've got some amazing suppliers today, loyal suppliers that we've assisted look after us in tough times. You can in South Africa find a lot of good fresh produce there. There's great produce out there. Generally the farmers don't want to supply to the market if possible. They prefer to supply direct. We put the logistics distribution chain in the middle, and we're able to supply our stores.
I mean, any big food business needs distribution centers, because you've got to have a place for all the product to go to, and then from there you go to your stores. Now with the national footprint of 160 stores, suddenly you need regionalization of your business. So in the Western Cape, you've got farmers. In the Free State, you've got farmers. In Gauteng, you'll have farmers. I mean, you've had to break it up like that.
Yeah, so we use an external purely a wheels and warehousing company from a distribution. Our fresh product comes in daily, though. So that doesn't go to a central place. It's coming in daily through distribution, but regionalized distribution purely on the fresh. But things like protein, chickens, those type of things come in nationally and are distributed nationally.
It's a massively complex network and a really dynamic organism, isn't it?
Good people. I think some of the things we've changed over the last 3 years is bringing in an amazing team of people. I'm certainly no logistics distribution expert, but we brought in those people that understand the supply chain, cold chains, distribution, whether it's marketing, product development. So we've formed this amazing team of passionate people about natural foods, and that's assisted the business.
The brand is all about trust. It's all about trust that the stuff that you're telling me is going into the food is going to the food. That you are, as you claim to, all of your website tells us, you're as non-GMO as possible, and I don't think it's possible to be non-GMO totally, because the wheat that goes into the wrap might have come from a commercial farmer. All of this stuff happens. We've seen, for example, Chipotle in the United States, food scares happen. I mean, that aspect of the food industry is terrifying from a health perspective. You've got to be able to keep the place squeaky clean and the image is squeaky clean all the time as possible.
That whole food fraud is a real issue and a problem, and it's something we have this whole department that's monitoring quality control, our suppliers, looking to make sure that they keep to what their promise is towards us. in store, we have area managers, we have audits done. It's a continuous process to keep health, hygiene, safety, keeping to our promise, exactly as you say. Our business is all about integrity, trust, specifically in the space we play, and is more important than other food groups. We can't disappoint on that promise.
Dean Kowalski is the chief executive of a healthy foods business. And that healthy foods business runs Kauai in South Africa. It's also expanding beyond our borders. Now, this is always high risk. If you saw in the Spur results recently, Spur is a 50-year-old South African business. They expanded all over the globe. They did quite well in the Middle East, like many restaurant concepts do. But they went to Australia. And guess what? Too expensive to operate. And they're not going to fund their franchisees in Australia and New Zealand anymore, simply because it is too difficult to do this globalized network. But Dean Kowalski, I think the phrase is skriks for nix. He's scared of nothing. We're going to talk to him about that globalization, the importance of partnerships. So the partnership with Virgin Active in South Africa has legs elsewhere in the world and is leveraging that opportunity elsewhere. Coming up in a moment.